Yuji Itadori and Ryman Sukuna, a boy and a king, found themselves mutually condemned at the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen. Itadori had to witness the hell caused by Sukuna when he was in control, while Sukuna was trapped inside someone he despised. Both were unable to tolerate each other in terms of action, values, or goals. Itadori wanted to be an altruistic hero, while Sukuna desired to be a malevolent and absolute king. But what if things were different? What if the two cooperated? In this video I present, what if Itadori and Sukuna cooperated? For this to happen, we need to find a moment in the story where this truce or cooperation could occur without losing the essence of the two characters. Sukuna would still be the malevolent and ruthless being, a true king of curses, and Itadori would continue to be the boy who wants to save as many people as possible, to die surrounded by important faces, giving a dignified death to whoever he could. The best moment for this change is when Itadori has his heart destroyed by Sukuna during the reformatory arc. This is the ideal moment, as a pact is made between the two. So, this is where our alternate story begins. The moment I refer to is the brief dialogue between the two, where Sukuna proposes a pact to Itadori in exchange for his life. In the original work, Itadori ignores what Sukuna wants to say and ends up accepting a highly unfavorable binding pact for himself. But in this video, the pact with Sukuna will be made much more cautiously. Itadori will listen to Sukuna and understand the principle of a binding pact, thus making a contract with him. This is where our alternate story begins. Itadori reassumes his body, even knowing that this would kill him, because he couldn't let his friend be killed by Sukuna. He collapses lifeless, and his consciousness goes to a strange place where he meets Sukuna. Sukuna reveals that this was the afterlife, or rather, his domain, and that Itadori could still return to life if he made a deal with him. The King of Curses explains how a binding pact worked, and says that if either party broke the agreement, the soul would suffer severe consequences. Itadori listens carefully and starts to think about how he could return to life without allowing Sukuna to cause great damage. He reflects and remembers Sukuna's words when he first appeared. "You will be the first I kill once I regain all my power." Yuji also recalls that his sensei, Gojo, assured that he would defeat Sukuna even if he were at 100% and out of control. Thinking about this and believing in Gojo, Itadori makes the following proposal to the King of Curses. "You are the king, correct? The one called the King of Curses, and you want to reclaim your position as the strongest. So, I have a proposal for you. You will cooperate with me in times of need, while together we recover all your fingers and your power. Once you achieve your full power, you can completely take over my body and face Gojo-sensei. If you win, you can do whatever you want, and I will never take over again. But if you lose, you will be suppressed again, and I will not let you return. So, little king, do you think you can handle Gojo with your full strength? After all, besides him, no one else could challenge you at that level." Sukuna, observing the boys, smile. "You idiot kid, do you really think that brat could beat me at my maximum? Well, you didn't mention a deadline to recover my finger. I will accept only if restoring my power is the top priority, without any other objective above that." Itadori then achieves his goal and responds, "Alright, but if you consume several fingers and take control, you cannot cause harm to anything or anyone." Sukuna concludes, saying, "Okay kid, deal." Itadori closes his eyes and wakes up in a strange room, resembling a hospital environment, where he realizes the presence of 3 people and that he was about to undergo an autopsy. He greets his sensei, Gojo, happy to see him again, and says he needs to tell him something. This time, the pact is remembered, and he explains the deal he made with Sukuna, stating that they should collect the fingers quickly so that Gojo can subdue Sukuna and contain him definitively. Gojo agrees to deliver all the fingers he can to Yuji, but questions the possibility of Sukuna taking over his body. Itadori asserts that, in that case, Sukuna will not harm anyone, as he established that condition in the binding pact. In the events involving Junpei, everything would happen normally, at least until the moment when Mahito transmuted the boy right in front of Itadori. From here, the story would take a slightly different turn from the original line. When Itadori was trapped by Mahito, he would turn to Sukuna, asking to eliminate Mahito and heal Junpei. The King of Curses would mock Itadori's situation for depending on him for everything, and would joke about Junpei's condition before healing him with reverse energy, using his knowledge of the soul, probably For Sukuna, reversing Junpei's state would not be a big problem. Immediately after doing this, he would turn to Mahito, a curse he initially found interesting. Sukuna would ridicule Mahito, but in a short time of interaction, he would perceive the young curse's arrogance and lose interest, moving to eliminate him. With his standard slashes, Sukuna would dismantle Mahito without any difficulty. And of course, if he didn't kill Mahito immediately, the domain expansion in the Malevolent Shrine would be necessary, and Mahito would end up dying, finishing the fight. Sukuna would then assert how pathetic and weak Itadori was, again, for not being able to resolve anything on his own. He would say that Itadori would use him in this way, and Yuji would swallow these painful words because he knew they were true. In the exchange event, up until the fight against Itadori, nothing would change from the anime and manga. Things would only start to differ from the arrival of Hanami inside the curtain. Here, the story would take a more macabre turn. When Itadori noticed the presence of the special great curse that shouldn't be there, he and Itadori would rush to the location, with Itadori already warning Sukuna to be ready to help him. The king, obviously, does not like the idea initially, considering the curse weak. However, due to the contract, he would have to act. Sukuna tells the boy to handle the situation and asks to take control of the body. Itadori agrees, knowing that Sukuna would not pose a danger to him or his friends at that moment. Sukuna takes control and immediately orders Itadori to leave and not interfere. Sensing the king's presence, Itadori retreats with hesitation but also worried about Yuji, his new best friend. From here, Sukuna advances towards Hanami. The curse, intimidated by the king's presence, hesitates to attack him. But Sukuna, pointing a finger, incites Hanami to attack. Hanami summons a large number of plants to surround and crush Sukuna, who would simply slice them without even touching them. At this moment, Sukuna charges at Hanami, seeking a bit of fun, just as he did with Jogo in Shibuya. Hanami would be thrown several times against trees and structures in the area, being taken to a more isolated area. There, Sukuna decides to stop playing and expand his shrine within a short range to avoid hitting anyone other than the curse. Hanami would be exorcised, reduced to pieces without any chance of resistance. The king asserts that he had a little fun, but that he still didn't want to deal with such a weak being. Meanwhile, Yuji and Itadori could temporarily handle Hanami until Satoru Gojo arrived, who would use his hollow purple on Hanami. However, knowing that he now has a trump card, Itadori opts to use Sukuna's power to avoid risking the lives of his friends. And as usual, I'll have to split the video into 2 parts because it ended up being too long. Do you guys like this format? Divide it into part 1 and 2, or do you prefer the complete video? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss part 2. With that said, until next time.